It's Chelsea Conrad with Proactive Happiness again, and welcome back to our management series. So in this episode, I wanted to spend some time talking to those of you who are out there who are aspiring to be managers and who are looking for things that you can do today to start positioning yourselves for those supervisory roles when they come up so that you'll be ready to hit the ground running. So there are a few things I want to talk through today that I think are pretty impactful things that you can do and some things that will really position you well for that next move. So the first thing that I would mention is networking. I know you hear this all the time. Everybody's always networking, but really there's a reason for it, right? So if you're in an organization, let's say that your office has 1,000 people in it, right? Who knows? Some are larger, some are smaller, but let's just go with 1,000 people right now. If people don't know who you are, your chances of getting promoted are very slim. So for some people, networking comes very easily, but for those of you out there who are more introverted, this can be a bit of a challenge, right? But you do need to figure out a way to position yourself so that people will start to know your name. Okay, so if you are one of those more introverted people out there, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But you need to make a concerted effort to find opportunities to get in front of people and to get your name out there in a setting where you're comfortable. Okay, so going to networking events where there's more opportunities for one-on-one interactions is a great setting for you. So think about that and then think about other opportunities within your organization if they have employee resource groups or things like that, where you can join. You don't necessarily have to take a leadership position right off the bat. It's always good to aspire to do something like that. Gets you a lot of recognition, but even just joining will get you a lot more connections and will start to get your name out there. So that's always a good practice. Another thing that I want to talk about is coaching. So when you step into a supervisory role, now when I talk about managers, just a reminder that is anybody who is in a supervisory position, anybody who has direct reports, anyone who has people under them that they are responsible for their growth and development. So when I talk about coaching, when you assume a management role or a supervisory role, you are expected to start coaching people, delivering feedback, things like that. And we'll do a separate session, a separate episode as it relates specifically to feedback, because feedback is a big topic. But when I talk about coaching, coaching is something that you can start to do today, right? So going and approaching your manager, talking to your manager about different ways that you can get plugged in to coaching people. If you don't have anybody less tenured than you on the team, depending on the way your group is structured, that may be the case, then see if you can find other opportunities, right? Join some of these employee resource groups, things like that, where you can help groom people when they join the group for the first time. Ideally, having like an intern or somebody like that under you, and then asking to be given the opportunity to have the primary coaching role for that person is huge. Because again, when you take a management role or a supervisory role, the expectation is that on day one, you're ready to hit the ground running with that. So that is something that can really be beneficial. And then when you go to apply an interview for some of these manager roles, you say, hey, I've already been doing this. I've got this down. I'm ready to hit the ground running with that. Something else that I don't think gets mentioned enough that I think is really important is meetings. How you conduct yourself in meetings. So first of all, the first thing I would say is don't be late. It looks terrible. Show up early, be there, be prepared, okay? A lot of the time when you are in a meeting, this is your only exposure to some of these people in the organization. And if you're in a meeting with them, depending on the way the meeting is structured, it may well be an instance where the people who are sitting around that table in that meeting are the ones who will have an impact on your career in the future. So they may have a say in whether you get a promotion opportunity or not. So this is really a time for you to shine. So before you go into that meeting, do your homework, know what's going to be talked about, bring out some questions so that if you feel up to it, you can put those questions out in the middle of the meeting. Again, this is going to vary, your comfort level will vary depending on how extroverted versus introverted you are. It doesn't rule you out one way or the other. You just have to adjust your approach accordingly. So if you are one of the more introverted people, have this list of questions, these things that, they're typically, if it's a recurring meeting, there's going to be common themes that come up. So do your research beforehand, make sure you understand the concepts, and be ready to, put in your opinion or something like that. Now, if you are one of those individuals who's not comfortable speaking up in meetings, which is super common, right? A lot of people feel that way and there's nothing wrong with it. But if you are, you need to take some different steps to get yourself that recognition and start to build those relationships. So one thing that I suggest is if there are people in that meeting who you don't yet have a rapport with, who you don't feel like know your true capabilities, start to work on building that relationship. So after one of those meetings, go to their office, have a conversation with them, say, hey, I really liked what you were saying in there. Can we talk? Can you explain a little bit more about it? Something like that, right? Just anything to start building that rapport so that they get to know you better. They know what you're capable of, and they will then be an advocate for you when the time comes. Another thing that seems simple, but it's easy in our day-to-day lives. Everything gets so busy, but make sure you go to your manager and be proactive, right? Ask for more. Take more of their responsibilities. This is something that as a manager, I always loved, right? Because it shows initiative, it takes some of the work off of my plate, and it makes me confident that when you are ready to take that next step, shoot, you've already done half the work. So it's fantastic, right? Ask for more. People love that. So that will definitely get you good recognition. It shows a great attitude. It shows a commitment, a willingness to learn, all sorts of different stuff. And one thing I would say, just in general, I know it's hard when you're at that point where you feel like you're ready for a management role and nothing keeps coming up, or, somebody else keeps getting it, whatever the case may be, but be patient. Okay. I know it takes time and it can be really challenging, but when the time is right and the opportunity is there, if you do these things, it will really help you to be in a position where you are the shoe-in for the role. So hang in there, practice these things, stay devoted to the cause, and eventually it will work out for you. So in the meantime, if you need any help, you know where to find us, proactivehappiness.com. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.